you guys, it's Amy from Northwoods Studio, and I have something special to open and try today. I've never tried this before, so grab a cup of something hot to drink if it's cold where you are, or cool to drink if it's hot where you are, and come on in and let's open this and do a demonstration drawing with it. Okay, so I'm just gonna open this and get right into it. This is dun da da da. Yeah, let's turn off the light for a second. These are the Arrtx Soft Pastels. I have never tried anything from this brand, and I have been on a soft pastel kick lately, and when they reached out and asked me if they wanted to try this, I said, yes, please. This is not sponsored by them. I am not paid for this in any way. They just sent me the pastels to try and give my honest review of. I'm going to say right now that I love the box. This is like beautiful Art Nouveau vibes going, and that is one of my favorite like time periods and decorating styles and art styles, so right away the box is a thumbs up. Why don't I take the plastic off this and we'll take a look at what's inside. I've been on a soft pastel kick lately. I really love soft pastels. They speak to me. That sounds corny, but it's true. And I've been thinking I might try to get over my fear of rejection and submit to the Pastel Society of America. I know it's hard to get in. I know they only have 1,300 members. I'm fully expecting that I might be rejected, but I'd like to try. Yeah, so I've been doing a lot of work with soft pastels lately just to practice and get ready. And I'm going to take the, can you see that? Yep, okay. Okay, this is a beautiful, I'll say right now the box is absolutely beautiful. It's really thick and sturdy. It's got a nice foam lining on the inside. That's weird, there's a metallic paint pen card in here. But these are not paint pens, so I don't know. Oh, look at this, they have the light fast rating right on the thing. Here, I'll hold this up so you can see. If you see each square there we go. Each square has a light fast rating right on it. That's nice. So there's all the colors. This is the set of 48. It has the pigment colors on there too, which I like to see. I'm gonna have to grab my reading glasses. Oops, and I threw some pens. All right, yep. I'm of that age where I have to have reading glasses, although to be fair, my eyes are very bad and they always have been. Yep, so they've got the pigment numbers right on it. Like the flame red is PV19, which is like a quinacridone magenta. Yeah, it looks good. Let's see, there's 4 stars on this one, 3 stars. I always check the pinks and the purples and the reds because those are going to be the ones that fade the fastest. It does look like there's about an equal division of 4 stars and 3 stars. I will look at the box in a minute and see if they have any sort of, oh, but here's 5 stars. Okay, so these, there are 5-star ones. So, and that's not surprising, like the 3 stars, like for the mauve, I'm not surprised. So probably anything that's in the 3 stars, like, it's good for practice. I don't know that I would do a finished piece with it if I wanted to sell it as a light fast piece. Although you could always warn the buyer and tell them to use UV glass. I go back and forth on whether I'm okay with that or not. I know a lot of people are okay with that, and that's totally fine if you are. Seeing if there's any more info on here. I do not see any other info. Okay, now I'm going to take this paper off here so we can see the actual pastels underneath. Ooh, it's got the colors imprinted right on it, which is nice. So you know what you're using. Just hold that up so you can see that. The colors are imprinted right on it. They look like really beautiful colors. How about, let's see. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to swatch these and give you my first impression. So I'm going to move you from here to up over here, and I will swatch these and we will give my first impressions, and then if there's time I'll do a demonstration drawing, and if not, either way I will give you my final thoughts on the matter. I will definitely, if I don't do a full demonstration drawing, I will definitely try these out and like do some blending and all of that so I can give you an accurate review of them. So let's go get swatching. Okay, you guys, so we're over at my work desk now, and we're gonna start by swatching these and see what the color palette is like. Fair warning, you can see the box is a little dirty. It was a beautiful weekend this weekend, and we went out fishing, and I grabbed these and put them in my pack and took them out and did some sketching out in the the wild with these. So I have used these a little bit. They were just too irresistible, so, but we're gonna start by swatching these all now. There are 48 colors in here, even though I took them out and used them. I tried to keep everything nice. And they don't look too used. They look all right. I didn't break any of them or anything. I am not 100% sure, though, if they're all still in their right rows. I tried. I think they look all right. So you can see on here there's the light fast rating right on here for each color. So as long as you keep these, they're not in the right rows. I can tell right away they're not in the right row, I don't think. Well, maybe. We'll see. We'll just swatch them. Let's start with swatching them, everybody, and then we'll decide what we're going to do today. Let's see. We'll turn to an empty page in here. This is mostly empty, and I've got it painted with the golden pastel ground, so it's a little gritty. We're going to try swatching on here. So let's start. First of all, I'm going to label these as the Arrtx. How do you spell Arrtx? 2 R's. Arrtx Soft Pastels, just so I don't forget what they are. And we'll start swatching these. These are a fairly soft pastel. They are not as soft as my Senneliers, which are my softest. Maybe my Schminke are the softest. They're not that soft, but they are fairly soft. They're definitely softer than like my Rembrandts, and for sure softer than my new pastels, which are considered more of a hard pastel. They're pretty soft. This one is super soft. So you may want to start with an underpainting underneath these so you don't fill up the tooth of your paper too fast. I would definitely recommend either a sanded pastel paper with these or pastel matte. These will fill up the tooth of your paper pretty quickly. And you may want to use a harder pastel for the underpainting, or you can use watercolors or pastel and alcohol, just anything that's not going to take up a ton of the tooth of the paper, because these will fill the tooth fairly quickly. I don't really recommend using like the Mi-Teintes paper with these. I mean, you can, but you're not going to get anywhere near the number of layers you would get with a sanded paper. If you don't feel like spending for a sanded paper, do like I did here, get yourself some of the golden pastel ground and just paint a couple pages in your sketchbook, and that will work just fine. I am definitely going to be doing an underpainting with these. I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do yet. I've been really liking the ink tints for underpaintings. I've really been liking watercolor for the underpaintings. I do like to do the hard pastels sometimes for an underpainting. I think I'm going to try not to mix brands today, so I'm not going to do that with these. I recently saw someone using gouache as an underpainting, and that looked like so much fun. It was in the Pastel Journal magazine. I think that's what it's called. It looked like a ton of fun. And I'm not going to lie, I've wanted to try it ever since I saw it in the magazine. So there is a chance that I may pull out my gouache and use that for an underpainting. I'm leaning right now towards some Uart paper and either ink tints or gouache or watercolor for the underpainting is what I'm thinking. My favorite Uart paper is the 400 grit. That's my favorite. I feel like it really holds the pastel well. You get lots of layers. You don't tend to need a fixative with that. Yeah, it's a good all-around paper. It does have a tendency to curl a little bit, but I've been mounting mine on acid-free foam board with adhesive. I learned that from Susan Jenkins' channel. I can put a link to that video down below where she shows how to mount the paper to the foam core board. And that takes care of the curling problem totally. And Uart handles liquid media really, really well, unlike some of the other papers. So I'm really enjoying the Uart right now, especially with mounting it on the foam core board. It's just a great paper, and it's not super expensive. It comes in like a cream color or kind of a grayish color, a darker color, dark gray, not quite black, but I think it's like an anthracite kind of color. It probably is, the Uart is probably my favorite for soft pastels. I have not tried some of their more pricey brands. I have not tried like the Sennelier card, although I know that does not handle water media, and I do like to tend to use water media. So that would be a consideration with that. I do have some Color Fix paper, I think it's called. Can't remember the name, coming in my next order. So I'm excited to try that as well. And we're almost to the end here. One more color. So this is the color palette we're working with here today. Let's just look at this for a minute and see what we think. Maybe if I can do this so I can see it a little bit better here. Zoom you in. Zoom. So this is our color palette. There's a lot of nice blues. There's some nice landscape colors here. What do I want to do today? The purples are really nice. It would make for like a nice iris. I haven't done a floral in a while. I am going to go find a reference photo, figure out what I want to do, figure out what we're going to do for the underpainting, and I will be back. Okay, you guys, so I have a sheet of 400 grit Uart sandpaper taped down to my ampersand hardboard. This is what I tape all my watercolors and pastels down to. You'll notice this paper isn't mounted. It's just as easy to mount it on the foam core board after your piece is done. So don't worry about that if you don't feel like doing that. I'm using my pH neutral artist masking tape. That'll be linked down below as well. This is my favorite brand. And I have a line drawing of an iris that I did here from a reference I found on Pexels. If you are a Patreon, you will have access to this line drawing as well as my photoshopping of the photo. And I think I'm going to do a real-time tutorial over there on Patreon as well. So if you're a patron, I think it might be a surprise, just a fun gift to all my levels of patrons. Yeah, I think I might do that. So if there's any other details, because this was a spur of the moment thing, if there's any other details I need to list, it'll be popping up down below here in, you know, words, which I do a lot if I forget something. So I am going to start with a watercolor underpainting today, and I think this might be a 2-layer underpainting. So I'm going to be using my Daniel Smith watercolors, but you can use whatever you have. I am going to... Boy, you're crooked. The camera's really crooked. Okay, I'm gonna go get my watercolors and a brush I don't care about and some fresh water, and I will show you what I'm gonna do. Okay, so I'm going to start by mixing up a nice wash, and I'm going to do this whole sheet with some quinacridone magenta mixed with a little quinacridone gold to warm it up. Okay, so I'm just doing the underpainting with the watercolor now, and again, for the real full-time tutorial, it's up over on my Patreon, even for just the $1 level, so if you want to see any of these steps in real time, where I talk about like specific colors I'm using and why I'm doing what I'm doing and what color of pastel I'm using, and later on when I'm using pastel pencil, that's all up over there. So I'm starting with the background on this. I'm going to try to do this piece a little bit more loosely and a little bit more impressionistic and not quite as realistic as I normally do. I still feel like it turned out fairly realistically, but also had a little bit more expression in it than normal, so I was happy with how this turned out. You saw me putting some white down there as a base layer. That was to lighten the colors and sort of mix the colors on the paper, because When you only have 48 colors, you need to sort of mix your colors to get the right tone and shade. Later on, I'll do the same thing with black to get a darker tone, layer a color over black to get a darker tone. Here I'm doing a little bit of finger blending, and you will see in a second that I'm going to switch to gloves. You're welcome to wear gloves if you don't like the feel of pastel on your fingers. Some pastels have pigments that have heavy metals in it. I don't remember if these do or not. And that's not why I put on the gloves, just my hands were really dry and the powdery feeling was bothering me. So I switched to gloves to do some finger blending. So you guys, I had a tech issue here and I lost a big chunk of the footage in the middle here. I'm not sure what happened. It just froze and like the length of the footage was right, but there was no like movement. So we lost a little bit here. And it was only when I tried to speed it up. So in the real-time footage over on my Patreon, it's all there. I don't know what happened here. I tried multiple times and couldn't get it to work. So anyway, I thought we could talk a little bit about inspiration and staying inspired as an artist. One of my favorite quotes, I think it might be by Mark Twain, is that he makes sure that inspiration finds him every morning at 9 a.m. already in his desk working or something. And I love that quote, and I always tried to go by it. But I realized lately that, especially with like the YouTube channel and having to push through projects to get them done to make the video, a lot of time I'll get inspired to do something in the middle of a project, and I put it off, having to finish the other project, like for YouTube first. And by the time I finish that other project, I don't have any motivations to start the new project. I no longer feel inspired, and probably 3/4 of the time I don't do it. I just move on to something else. And I'm wondering if anybody else has that issue, and if so, how do you deal with it? How do you deal with staying inspired as an artist, but also finishing projects? We talked a little bit, I think it was last week, maybe the week before, about momentum. I'll link that video down below so that you can watch it if you haven't already. But I think the whole inspiration thing plays into the whole momentum thing. And I'm wondering if I'm approaching it wrong. I'm wondering if maybe I shouldn't pause the project I'm working on to at least get started on the project that I feel inspired to do and get it underway, and then finish the first project before coming back to finish the new inspiring project. I guess I don't really know how to handle it, because I really do want to make these things in the moment, but then by the time I'm done with the project I'm working on, the inspiration is gone. How do you handle it? Okay, you guys, it's time for my favorite part, the tape peel. I had really long pieces of tape when I did this, so I sort of wrapped them around, and that was maybe not the best idea. I'm thinking next time I do pastels, I might just try marking off the borders and then using the borders as my space for testing pastel colors. I saw somebody recently do that on the Pastel Society of America's YouTube channel, one of their master pastelists, and it seemed like a really good idea. I might do that next time. We'll see. I actually really like how this turned out. I was going for a little looser, more impressionistic style, and I feel like for the first time I sort of accomplished it. And I just like how it turned out. A lot of the time, whether or not I like a piece is just based on like a gut feeling that, hey, I like this when it's done. So I did have it with this one. Okay, you guys, so there is the finished piece. I'm going to put the real-time footage of this up over on my Patreon as a November like special surprise, and it's going to be available for everybody, even my $1 tip jar people. So if you'd like to go over there and follow along, I'm going to have my materials list plus my line drawing that I drew plus my Photoshop reference photo. So if you'd like to go check out my Patreon and even just do the $1 tier, which is normally just a tip jar, this will be available for everybody by the time you see this video. And I really did enjoy these Arrtx Soft Pastels. I love that they come with the light fast rating, and I think, does it have the, it does, it has the pigment numbers and the light fast rating right on the little swatches here, which is really helpful. They're very smooth, they're soft without being too soft or crumbly. I think this would make an excellent beginner set for someone who's just learning how to use soft pastels. And then I just used a few of my Pitt pastel pencils for some details at the end. Along with, I did a couple watercolor colors in the beginning. I'm really happy with how this turned out. I was going for that whole looser, more impressionistic thing, and I feel for the first time kind of like I sort of achieved that. I mean, it's not super loose, but it feels like the impression of the flower, if that makes sense. I mean, it looks like the flower too, but I feel like it says a little bit more about the flower and how I feel about it, which is what I've been trying to do. So all in all, this was a success. I was not paid in any way to promote these. They just gave them to me for free to try. I think they would be great for a beginner, and I had a lot of fun. So I hope you did too, and if you want to go check out the real-time footage over on Patreon, you are welcome. And until next time, happy creating!